5 listeners, friends, enemies, gather around. It's time for Perhaps It's You. We're one of many Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcasts, watching the original Robert Stack episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. But I know that we're your favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
We're probably also the only deadly Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
Yeah, how many of those podcasts have the power to kill? I'm guessing just this one.
I'm guessing. You know, it's funny. Our intro where we often say hello, friends and enemies, previously always seemed a little weird because why would your enemies be listening
Oh,
to
I
the
knew they were.
podcast?
I knew they were listening. I knew they were listening this whole time.
But after that 1-star review we talked about in our last episode, apparently our enemies are listening.
They're out there. And I
So-
greet them anyway. And yet, they meet that greeting with nothing but disdain. Here I've welcomed them, and I get told that my voice makes them want to die? Please. That's
I
just
mean, a
rude.
download's a download, but those 1-star reviews are not appreciated. Also against the
No.
rules.
Against the rules, we only accept 5-star reviews. However, that review has led me to perhaps my true love, which is taking pre-Raphaelite paintings of beautiful women leading men to their watery graves and turning them into memes about my voice.
How many have you made so far?
I don't know. I cannot stop.
I mean, the number's going to be higher by the time you are listening to this.
I literally was making one right now. I was like, Liz, it's time to record. You need to stop making memes and actually record the podcast the memes are about. Fortunately for me, there's a lot of paintings of the subject matter. So, I mean,
there's no end in sight.
Yeah, exactly. I could make so many painting inspired memes of poor innocent men that go from, I don't know, listening to Joe Rogan to saying, I think I'm going to try something new today. Maybe, remember that show Unsolved Mysteries? That was pretty good. Maybe I'll listen to a podcast about that. Oh my God. Oh my God, no. It's women and they're talking. I wish I was dead. Yeah. I mean, I feel very powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel it just seems fitting. It's like, yeah, I do deserve to have this kind of power. To lure men to their watery graves.
We're recording this episode on Valentine's Day, which is hilarious. That this is how we've opened the episode.
Oh yeah,
but also fitting for our brand.
Belated Valentine's Day, everyone. I have come to really love Valentine's Day after years of, being angsty and thinking it was not for me, but I mean, it's chocolate and hearts and pink, so I should have known that deep down I actually love it.
I like a Valentine's Day aesthetic. I agree.
And you can do whatever you want. That's the trick of any holiday. I ordered myself the fancy chocolates I wanted, and I'm not disappointed. They're delicious. They're so good. Yes. Happy belated Valentine's Day to actually only our friends in this case. Enemies, fuck off. Whatever. I don't need to greet you. Do we have any other updates?
No.
Yeah, I feel like
so.
No. I was gonna say we probably should have addressed this in like some more official capacity, but over the summer we were talking about how the Minneapolis City Council had pledged to defund the police. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna give a quick update that that's clearly not gonna happen. I probably shouldn't have acted like that because they said they were gonna do that was gonna happen, because that's not gonna happen. So that's
I was maybe a little bit naive, but I mean, I think a lot of people felt hopeful.
I mean, people did burn down a police station. Right. So it's not like it wasn't a moment that called for change. It's just that once it got cold and everyone had to go back inside, clearly time to be like, yeah, we're really not going to do that. Yeah. It's I feel like I expect so little, and yet I'm still so disappointed. I feel like my expectations low. And yet here I am, fucking disappointed yet again. The entire world protested for the death of George Floyd. The entire world. And what is going to come of that? Minneapolis Police Department and City Council? Oh, nothing? Oh, interesting. Bold choice, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really have anything profound to say about that except that it sucks. Yeah, I mean, do we have to burn down more police departments? I don't know. I don't know. I saw someone on Twitter, and God, I hope this is true, saying that their French boyfriend was watching TV a little while ago, and he was like, the situation here is terrible. Why is no one burning stuff down? And you just have to be like, French guy, I don't know. Good question.
We tried that.
We tried that.
Surprisingly, the answer hasn't been burn down more shit, but maybe we're getting closer.
I mean, maybe the warmer weather.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say
right
it is too
now.
cold right now. I mean, I think a police station on fire would warm a lot of people up right now. It's currently -20 outside, but
Yeah, yeah. It's like comically cold. If you have not lived somewhere that can get to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, I mean, it's something.
apparently I got this information from my mom. I'm assuming it's credible. With the wind chill, it was apparently negative. It felt like -45 this morning.
What does that even mean? Like, I can't even process that. Like, what does that even mean?
Honestly, I don't know because
Just
it's just
your
really cold.
your face just falls off. The
Yeah,
wind touches it, and you go, "Oh, I don't have a face anymore."
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's. I mean, I have to put some stuff in the mail. I was like, I'm not going outside, but I do have to find a mailbox. Well, I might lose some fingers and some toes.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sorry for implying that things might actually get better. Don't worry, there won't be much of that on this podcast. I don't make that mistake often. So, yeah. Yeah.
And I think this episode of Unsolved Mysteries, if you're in a dark mood right now, sorry, it's not gonna get better.
Yeah, I mean, go find your like emo outfit that's been in the back of the closet for the past 15 years because it's time. It's time for some fingerless gloves and I don't know. I missed that thing. But put on a bunch of eyeliner. Get ready to
Yeah,
be
that's
very sad.
fitting.
I hope you're ready to be bummed out, I say once again.
Yeah.
We are on season 6, episode 8
Yes.
of Unsolved Mysteries. You can find that on the old YouTubes. I would not recommend watching it on, say, Amazon Prime.
Not unless you love ads.
Yeah, not only because Jeff Bezos can suck my dick, but because they decided, you know what this show needs? 10 billion ads. Why? You already have more money than God.
We already paid to watch this because
Yes!
we pay for Prime Video. Now I have to watch like 20 ads in one episode. Yeah.
How can greed just know no bounds like that? Like, how does that guy go, you know what I need? More money. Like, no, you don't.
It's hard to fathom because
No, you
once
don't.
you have that much money, like it's not like at that point getting more it does not affect your
You
life
will
at
not
all.
notice the difference.
No, you could lose not way more than half of that money. You could lose half of your money and not even notice.
Yeah, it would
It
be
would make
nothing.
no material difference in
It
your
would
life.
do
It's
nothing to
something I
you.
can't even wrap my head around, honestly.
I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand a lot of things about being rich, but I don't understand being rich and like being cheap. Like, if you're rich, don't you want to be like leaving cars for your waitresses like Elvis? Like, don't you want to just be like sharing the wealth, like throw that around, show off a little?
You
No,
would, as a not rich person, I would think so.
you would think so, but no.
Instead of
Anyway,
just hoarding it. Yeah.
I don't know how we get on that topic. Like, I feel like every episode we're like, rich people just swimming around in their gold like Scrooge McDuck. But clearly, it's on my mind. But Samantha has our first segment, which does take place in Minneapolis.
Yeah, speaking of Minneapolis, this first mystery takes place here. This
It was
is
not negative 20 degrees the day of this mystery.
Oh my god, could you imagine if it was? This guy'd be dead. Yeah, so this is a wanted, and it is about the kidnapping of John Grundhofer. I'm gonna try to care about this. Okay, let's
I literally wrote down, speaking of rich people, I wrote down, this guy deserves to be kidnapped. It's one of my few notes. It goes wanted, kidnapping, fat phobia, and then this guy deserves to be kidnapped.
Oh yeah, that was my first. So I wrote down how Robert Stack opens this episode.
It's not great. It's
He
not
says,
great.
quote, "The perpetrator was an overweight, middle-aged man who wore thick glasses and a floppy rain hat. Hardly the profile of a dangerous criminal."
How do you
End
know,
quote.
Robert Stack? How do you know what dangerous criminals are doing? These mysteries are unsolved. They could all be wearing floppy rain hats. You don't know because you don't know who they are.
Was the hat this guy was wearing a rain hat? I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
guess can any hat be a rain hat if you wear it in the rain? I don't understand, but I think this was more like a fedora.
It was like what Inspector Gadget wears, and I don't know what kind of hat that is.
I think of a rain
But
hat like a kid's garden hat. That's what I
yeah,
was
it's not like
picturing.
that.
But that's
Maybe
not what
it's
this
just like made out of trench coat material. Do
guy
you
kind of looked like it was.
do you think Robert Stack is just jealous that he doesn't have one?
Maybe. I don't know why he described this as a rain hat. I can't say it's not a rain hat. Maybe he only wore it in the rain.
It wasn't raining when this happened,
It's true.
according to the reenactment anyway.
It was part of his disguise. You know how in like Marvel movies they'll disguise like a very obvious superhero like Captain America or whatever by just putting a baseball hat on him? That's like this guy. He as soon as he put on that hat, no one recognized him.
That's also on that show You when Joe the stalker is like stalking someone, he just puts on a baseball hat, which I understand like maybe people wouldn't like see him, but he acts like he is invisible. Like literally like no one would even see a person, much less recognize him. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're still there. You're just wearing a weird like who wears just a blank baseball hat with like no logo on it?
People who can't be trusted.
It's suspicious as hell.
You're old. That's only a disguise. That's the only reason you would
Yeah,
wear that.
yeah. You go to the store and they're like, "Can I interest you in one of these NFL logo hats as worn by Rob Lowe?" And you go, "No, no, I don't want that. I need a disguise hat." And they're like, "Oh, right this way. We have tons of just blank black baseball hats for this purpose."
Yeah, so anyway, this guy, I don't know if he was dangerous. I mean, he claimed to have a bomb. We'll get there, but he was definitely a criminal, so I don't know what you're talking about, Robert Stack. Anyway, so on November 19th, 1990, a wealthy business executive named John Grundhofer arrived at his offices at 8:10 a.m. in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
This guy's claim to fame was he was brought in to like fire people, like that George Clooney movie, and
Yes.
he laid off 2,000 people from this bank.
Yeah.
So kind of when they were like, "Huh, how many enemies does this guy have?" It was like, I don't know, at least 2,000. So I was like, yeah, he kind of deserves to get kidnapped. I
Yeah.
want he lives. He lives, everybody. Calm down.
I think
But
Robert Stack called him a hard-nosed businessman or something.
okay. You ruined like 2,000 people's lives at this one place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine when the cops are like, "So do you have any enemies?" And this guy's like, "Ooh, yeah, get out a notepad. This is gonna take a while."
Also, that's so many Are there any employees left at this bank?
Yeah, for real. It was called
Didn't he fire?
He only-
2,000?
It was called trimming the fat. 2,000 people got laid off.
Good
Okay.
grief. That is so many people. So, as he exited his car in the parking garage, a man calling himself Carl approached John and tried to abduct him at gunpoint. However, John tried to struggle with this person. Meanwhile, a witness named Jeff Rasmussen heard the commotion and immediately thought that someone was being mugged. He ran over,
This is
but
so Minnesota of him, though. He sees someone he thinks is being mugged in a parking garage and is like, "Whoa, maybe I can go help.
it's true.
Maybe I
It's true. He runs over.
Not the other fucking way, guy! What are you doing?"
Well, he comes to his senses. It's this is almost a comedy too. So they're like wrestling on the ground in this parking garage. This guy runs over and they jump up and act like nothing is wrong.
Yeah, because he's got a gun in his back. So then this guy is like, "Oh, maybe they're not being mugged." So he says, "Is somebody sick? Can I help?" And that's just why I love this city so much, in a way, is it's just filled with, like, puppy-dialogued people wandering around going, "Oh, can I help you?
Are you
Oh,
sick?
are you
Do they
sick?"
look sick? They're clearly fighting.
It's like, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah. Yeah, it is a very Minnesota thing to do.
It's
So,
really
but
adorable.
Carl like threatened him and said that he better get out of here, and that's when he was like, yeah, he some self-preservation kicked in and he ran off. Um
And he was like, "Well, that was just rude and uncalled for and not very neighborly at all."
so then at 8:13 a.m., the gunman ordered John back into his car and forced him to drive out of the garage towards Wisconsin. At this point, he like hooks a wire around his wrist and says that it's dynamite in case he tries to pull anything, he's gonna blow up.
It looks so shitty in the reenactment, though. It looks like they put 3 cigars in a sandwich bag and just, like, tied that to some handcuffs and were like, "Watch out or you'll blow up."
Yeah, I'm skeptical. They never proved one way or another whether or not this guy actually had a bomb, but I'm kind of skeptical. So,
I mean, it's not a risk you wanna take. You don't wanna go, "This isn't a bomb," and then it explodes, right? It's just
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
smart thing to do. Don't take chances. Someone says it's a bomb, just believe them. Uh
It's clearly 3 cigars in a sandwich bag.
So I kind of so obviously each segment has a title. This is a wanted, but I sort of wish they had like witty titles and this one was like Fumbles 2.0 or something because
This guy is the fumbles of kidnapping.
yeah, because at this point he's apparently dropped a note in the parking garage. They're halfway to Wisconsin when he realizes that he's left what Robert Stack describes as a cheat sheet for the kidnapping in the parking. He had it like mapped out. I'm not exactly sure what it said, but it was something. I'm sure it was something along the lines of like, okay, approach at gunpoint, force in. It was like a they literally call it a cheat sheet for the kidnapping.
And it was not like I don't know. It wasn't like minutia. It wasn't details like use this, exit or something. It was literally like get gun, kidnap guy, put guy in car. It was like I think you can remember that. I would hope if you're gonna pull off a kidnapping, I would hope you would remember the part that says kidnap.
I mean, and that's sort of what the FBI agents who are interviewed for the show say. They're kind of like, this guy was probably not a professional since he needed a cheat sheet to remind him how to
No,
kidnap.
I guarantee he is a disgruntled, fired employee, not a like professional kidnapper, if there is such a thing.
I don't think professional kidnappers need cheat sheets. I've never kidnapped myself. I feel like if I was going to, maybe an outline would be helpful. I don't know.
It's weird you feel the need to deny that you've kidnapped someone, Samantha. Little suspicious, if you
Something
ask
a
me.
kidnapper would say.
It kind of is something a kidnapper would say.
So, passerby found this note in the parking garage. I can't imagine finding that note.
Oh
Uh,
my god, that I would be so tempted not. First of all, I probably wouldn't give it to the police because I would think it was a fucking joke. But also,
You would
I
send
would.
it into that art project. What is that thing? What is that called? Where people find notes and they send it in.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would, but
God,
I
I
would
forget
want
what
to
is it called?
like frame it. Like I
Put it in
would
your
want.
house.
Yes, I know that was like kidnapped man.
Get
Drive
in
to
car.
yeah, drive to
Demand
location.
millions of dollars.
I would absolutely want that on my wall. I would be so sad to hand that over to the police. Like, can't you just make a copy? Can I have the original?
Photocopy it. So around 8:45, John and the gunman had crossed into Wisconsin. The man asked him a few questions, which led John to believe that he had done research about his company. Or,
Yeah, or maybe he used to work there?
yeah,
Just just a thought.
yeah. At 8:57 a.m., John was ordered to pull into a secluded rest area where the gunman told John that he wanted $3 million in ransom. So he called his secretary and told her of the gunman's demands. This again suggested that this was not a professional kidnapper because he asked for $1,000 bills, which the police or the FBI, whoever, I forget, whoever is interviewed for the show is like, that's not something you could just like carry around. So, not sure that this guy is like totally thought this through.
I didn't even know until recently that they used to make $1,000 bills, but it's, from when wire transfers were less common.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of just like sticking that in your wallet, a one piece of paper that's worth $1,000. I
Right?
don't know.
He's like, "What are you gonna do? Walk into a coffee shop and get change for $1,000 bill? Like, what is your plan here, guy?" Anyway,
I mean, I don't know.
and who has $1,000 bills? Like, what are you gonna do? Walk into your bank? I think they're probably gonna know.
They're gonna be kind of suspicious, probably.
Yeah.
It'd be better to get some smaller bills. DB Cooper knew.
Yeah. Yeah. So the employees at First National Bank began to prepare the ransom, but when the gunman realized that he had lost his cheat sheet, he became frustrated and then had John go down a hill into the woods. I don't know. He got flustered at this point. He didn't remember what he was going to do.
We all have those days that just don't go as planned, and it's unfortunate when that day coincides with the day you've planned to kidnap someone.
I mean, we've all been there. We've all had to go into a meeting we weren't fully prepared for. You didn't have an outline. You didn't have your bullet points, what you wanted to talk about. Had to wing it. Didn't go super great.
I
I
had a
can
dream
relate.
last night that Samantha and I were in high school, and we had to give a presentation on the stock market crash like the next day. Actually, I think it was in 2 days, but for whatever reason, Samantha couldn't work on it the next day. So, and we had done like no research or anything, and we're just like scrambling to figure out what we were going to talk about in front of the class. And my big idea was to just like fill the room with ticker tape to distract people from the idea that we didn't really know what we were talking about.
That
I'm
that always is
sure
a good strategy to just distract the audience.
I'm sure that has nothing to do with podcasting in any way.
That's so funny. Yeah, but I can't even imagine if I had to get up in front of people and talk about the stock market. That is not a dream. That is a nightmare.
I was like, okay, well, I can make some posters tomorrow, Samantha. Maybe I can find some pie charts. Oh man, it was brutal.
Goddamn. Goddamn. Those are the worst dreams where you're back in high school, you have to take a
You're like,
test, you skipped the whole semester for some reason, and then you have to come in for the
yes.
final test. I have those dreams all the time. They're the worst.
I always, for some reason, have not been going to history class. I don't know why
Okay.
that class, but then I'll be like, wait, I have history this semester? And it
I
just
have
turns
that.
out I haven't been going somehow. And then it's like, oh, fuck, I got to take that test tomorrow. And I have not gone to one class.
I have that same dream, but it's math.
For me, it should be math because I did not learn any math.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's history. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. Is it because it turned out one of our high school history teachers was sleeping with a student? And
Mm.
that's just like burned in my brain forever. I don't know. Was my high school possibly actually on television and not real? Yes.
Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder.
The way that came, yeah. I was telling Samantha some stories the other day about my town, and I realized that I sound like my mom, where my mom will be telling a story, and then she'll be like, and that's when we woke up on scorpions. And you're like, what? Where did that come from? Where I was just like, and then this happened. And she was like, sure, Liz. But, yeah, one of the high school history teachers was dating a student. I believe she was a dating. I believe she was a cheerleader, and this came to light because the cheerleaders were over at someone's house. I don't know, doing whatever cheerleaders do. And one of them was talking to the mom that lived at the house they were at, and they were like, "Oh, how so and so is dating Mr. History Teacher?" And just, like, thinking that was common knowledge, I guess, and the mom was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Yeah. It's a very, very TV moment.
Was
We
it a
could
big
all
scandal?
it was a hush-hush scandal.
Okay.
A bigger scandal was one of my middle school gym teachers,
I don't like where
Mr.
this is going.
Mr. Pomeroy, wherever you are, fuck you. That guy was abusing a student.
Ugh.
Ick,
Ugh.
ick. And I will say his name because he was convicted of that, so
Okay.
fuck him forever.
God damn.
Wow, that was a real tangent. Uh
Back to
back to
Carl
now
Fumbles
this
Jr.
this kidnapping will seem very lighthearted compared to stories of my middle school gym class.
It is in a way. I mean, this guy never spoiler alert, this guy never got his money, and I don't know. I mean, this is a crime to kidnap someone, but I kind of don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, no, don't care at all. This is this
So
is this is called reaping what you sow.
so the kidnapper is flustered at this point because he lost his cheat sheet, so he just forces him to go into the woods. At this point, they come upon he must have placed this ahead of time. It's like a garbage bag with a sleeping bag inside of it, just in the middle of the woods. He removes the I'm doing scarecrow, it's the dynamite. He tied up John, put duct tape on his mouth, and like forced him into the sleeping bag. Then he fucks off. He leaves. I'm not really sure what the plan was. I don't even know like how he was expecting to get the money, but
Yeah, that's
whatever.
a great question.
They never say in the episode how he was like to get this money. I think maybe he just panicked and left. I really don't know. But I guess he could have called the secretary. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what his plan was. Seems like maybe he didn't have a plan at this point because he lost his cheat sheet.
Yeah, he had a plan. He just didn't know what it was. So he was like, I gotta go.
Gotta
Bye.
go. But so he left, and John spends about 20 minutes trying to free himself. Around 10:30 a.m., he calls his office from a nearby farmhouse, and told them to not pay out the ransom. The kidnapping made
Boo.
national news, and the FBI set up a hotline. A man named John Henderson, this is unfortunate. John Henderson, this guy was identified by several people as the kidnapper after seeing the composite sketch. He just looked like this guy.
Which is
Sort of. I don't know.
unfortunate
We do
because
a side by side, and I guess he kind of resembles him, but I think lots of people resemble this guy. I don't know.
I would be insulted because that's an ugly drawing.
It's not a good drawing. No.
I really wrote down, wow, gross drawing. So if a bunch of people called in and were like, that's Liz all right, I would not be pleased.
You might be insulted by this. So this guy Henderson was a maintenance man and had absolutely no connection to John Grundhofer or his business, his bank whatsoever. And a
Yeah,
search
he
of
had
his
nothing
house
to do with
turned
it.
up nothing. There was literally no evidence other than the eyewitness. They put him in a lineup, and John Grunhofer does identify him as the kidnapper. However, Jeff Rasmussen, the witness from the parking garage, does not. So they continued to look for evidence, but a handwriting test did not match. They believed that Henderson's alibi was not super airtight. However, and they did do a grand jury investigation, but no charges were ever filed. So he
There's
just
no
had to
evidence
go
against this
through
guy.
this ordeal for nothing. I feel bad for this guy. Yeah, there was no evidence whatsoever. Just some
No.
random people who saw a sketch and thought he looked like him.
I don't trust that guy picking him out of a lineup anyway. I almost wonder if he knows who it is.
Maybe.
And he didn't want to say for
It's
whatever
possible.
reason.
So, there
He
at
was
this
just like,
point,
oh yeah, that's him. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
yeah. So there was $100,000 reward. They still considered John Henderson a suspect, but they never pursued that. Thank goodness. Um, so the case was featured. I'm trying to see, I'm looking at the Unsolved Mysteries wiki now to see if. Oh, interesting. So I don't know if this was mentioned in the episode. 2 months before the kidnapping, John's daughter Karen survived being shot during the Henry's Pub hostage incident in Berkeley,
Whoa.
California.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Traumatic time for this family. That
I
sounds
guess.
unrelated, but
So the case is unsolved. John Henderson was later cleared as a suspect. The true kidnapper has never been identified. Interestingly, there has been some recent speculation that John Grundhofer actually staged his kidnapping in order to gain sympathy from the public, but this theory has not been confirmed.
ah, that would explain why he picked someone out of the lineup that didn't do it.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't put it past this guy. He seems like a dirtbag, so
Also, this kidnapper is so inept. Could anyone be that inept at kidnapping?
That was my question. Like, it's not like this
Hmm.
plan that he did was so intricate that he needed, like, a cheat sheet. It was just get him in a car, drive to Wisconsin, but it almost would make sense if he had staged it. Like,
Yeah.
he just left him in the woods.
Completely unharmed. He was never in any real danger.
Yeah, and
I
he was
don't
just
I
able to
don't
get out of
believe
his
that
restraints and go to a farmhouse.
I don't believe that bomb thing at all. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Hmm, it's a twist I didn't see coming, but
Okay. I have an unexplained death for y'all, and it is long and sad.
prepare yourselves. This is actually really fascinating.
It's a good case, but it's a sad case. It is introduced as a brutal double homicide, so you know what you're getting into. This goes back to I believe 86. It takes place in Willow Creek, California, which is a small town population 1,000, about 250 miles north of San Francisco. Hans and Betty Hansen lived in kind of a remote area. This is going to be relevant later. So they live in a trailer, and then right next to their trailer is a shop for like logging supplies because they're in a logging area. And then they also have like a big warehouse where they store all the stuff that they sell.
Can we clear up one thing? His
Yeah.
name is Hans, right?
Hans Hansen. Yes.
Because in the show, Robert Stack and everyone else keeps calling him Hans, which means his name would have been Hans Hansen, which
I mean, maybe he's okay. I've never heard of the name Hans. Like, I've heard of the name Hans.
his name is spelled like Hans, but
Okay,
they keep calling him
I guess
Hans. And I don't know why.
we'll just see what comes out of my mouth, and that's what we're gonna call him.
Sure.
So they had 4 children, including 2 twins, Jill and Julie, who were known around town for being very compassionate and friendly, making this only sadder. Robert Stack says that life was close to perfect until November 14th, 1986. So that evening, the twins, age 16, went to bed in their bedroom. Their elder brother, Donnie, who was 21, was visiting from out of town and sleeping on the couch. At 3 a.m., Betty, who's the mom, awakes to the smell of smoke. At this point, Hans opens the bedroom door and sees that the hallway, like the whole trailer, is already engulfed in fire. So he manages to grab a fire extinguisher and shoots it down the hall, but it doesn't put out the fire. The fire remains in like a strip because there's accelerant. So at that point, Hans calls out to his children. He doesn't get any response, and he runs out of the house. In running out of the house, he accidentally kicks over an empty gas can.
Hmm.
Around the same time, Betty sees her son Donnie, and it seems like he's yelling at someone to leave.
Does
Like,
this ever
get
get
out of here.
revisited?
No. And I think it's because they only have like her kind of blurry eyewitness account because obviously she's just woken up, her house is burning down, right? Like, I don't think she had like the best grasp of her surroundings. She's worried about her children, whatever. But she recalls seeing her son Donnie at possibly a window yelling at someone like, go on, get out of here.
I was really expecting this to come back up and it never does, and it's very strange.
I think it's a very important piece of the puzzle. So at this point, so she doesn't really think of anything of that because she's too much in a panic. She runs to the store that's on their property to grab more fire extinguishers. It is handy if your house is on fire that you have a store that sells fire extinguishers.
Sure.
So, when she gets to the store, Donnie is already there. And Hans is getting a ladder, which he puts up to Julie and Jill's window from the outside so that they would be able to climb out. However, he doesn't get any response to them from calling. And at this point, the fire is like so large, it's not like he can go in. So fire trucks arrive about 15 minutes after the fire started. It's kind of a remote area. And at this point, after the fire trucks have arrived, a neighbor who's come to like see what's going on notices that there is a figure in the ditch across the street. This is Julie. Julie doesn't appear to be burned at all, but is holding her stomach where she has a serious wound. And at this point, Donnie is like, oh yeah, I pulled her out of the fire. Which doesn't make a ton of sense. Because it
No, it's
hadn't like because
odd.
because they've been going like, oh no, Jill, Julie, we gotta get him out, right? This whole time while they're waiting for the fire truck. And then as soon as someone sees Julie, Donnie goes, oh yeah, I rescued her.
It's like you didn't mention that. They Robert Stack describes her as nearly dead when she's found. So it's like Donnie didn't think to mention to the first responders that she was
Yeah,
laying in a field across the street. If you pull her out, it's suspicious from the beginning.
he doesn't tell the first responders like, hey, you might want to go help my sister. She's nearly dead. He also doesn't tell his parents that are worried about them, like, oh, Julie's alive. She's
She's
just
not in
hurt.
the burning trailer. At this point,
Yeah.
completely engulfed in flames.
Yeah, they're trying to get them out of the trailer. And he could have been like, oh, we only need to save Jill. I already saved Julie. And then his parents would go, oh, thank God Julie's okay, right?
We can focus all our efforts on getting to Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen. So Julie is holding her stomach because she has a serious stomach wound. But at the time, nobody really goes, Donnie, that doesn't make any sense because they're too worried about getting Jill out of the fire. The emergency personnel assume that Julie's stomach wound is related to the fire, as you would. Perhaps something exploded, right? Like an aerosol exploded from the heat and, she got shrapnel in her stomach or something.
Yeah.
But when she gets to the hospital, it turns out that it is actually a wound from a point-blank shot from a 12-gauge shotgun.
This segment has some twists and turns.
That is a real twist. So, unfortunately, once the fire department gets the fire out, like there is basically nothing left of this home, and Jill's body is found in the burned remains. After her body is examined, we learn that she had also been shot, but because of her wound, was unable to escape the fire.
It does make sense because while you're watching them respond to this fire, it appears that the girls made no effort whatsoever to escape. And you're like, why? Like they just stayed in their rooms while it burned around them. And
Right.
now we know because she was shot.
And also their parents have been calling for them this whole time, like, Jill, Julie, answer me. And they haven't said anything, which is odd. Even if they were trapped in a burning room, you might think they would yell, help me, or,
Right.
something. But they haven't heard a word from them. And it turns out, they were both shot. So authorities recover 3 shotgun shells and 2 gas cans and a second gas can from the wreckage. So there's the one that Dad kicked over when he was leaving. They also find another one in the burned out home. The family's business warehouse was untouched by the fire. The police search the warehouse and find a shotgun hidden behind some boxes. Ballistics testing proves that this is the weapon used to shoot Jill and Julie. The authorities don't tell the family they found the shotgun, and they watch the warehouse. A couple days later, a prowler is caught by police breaking in. It's the son, Donnie. He says that he had come to feed the family dog. And the police
in the middle of the night when the dog is not there and he knows the dog is not there.
Both him and the police know that a neighbor is watching the dog. The dog is not in the warehouse. I mean, maybe sometimes it was, but he knew it wasn't then. So anyway, the police immediately knew that he is lying. And they believe he was trying to get back into the warehouse to retrieve the shotgun. At this point, I drew a mustache. This is on Chief Investigator George Gatto. And you'll know exactly what it looks like from the name, which is, that's a cop, all right. Okay. At this point, Donnie is the prime suspect. We find out that Donnie borrowed the shotgun from a friend only 3 days earlier. He also admitted to keeping it in his car. They are able to track down the purchase of the ammo, which was the same day as the fire.
It's very suspicious.
He also purchased 2 containers of gasoline that day at the local gas station.
You don't say.
That's when I wrote down, this is starting to sound like solved mysteries to me. 2 weeks after the fire, Julie has recovered enough at the hospital to say what happened. At first, she remembers being shot but not anything else. But after talking to her parents for a while, she remembers seeing Donnie's face in the flash of the shotgun. We hear from her doctor that was like, well, that's not what she told me. And I was like
Oh,
she wouldn't remember stuff later? What kind of doctor are you?
yeah. She just went through a horrible ordeal. Also, maybe she didn't trust you.
Yeah, maybe she didn't want to tell some rando, oh, I think it was my brother.
Yeah, maybe
That's
she was
very
still processing that. Like, come on.
that's a very traumatic thing to admit. But he's acting like this is evidence that she did, like, while having surgery, didn't go, excuse me, sir, I think it was my brother. What? Anyway, that's apparently supposed to be evidence to me. So Donnie willingly spoke with the police. He said that he panicked and he hid the gun because he didn't want people to think that he burned down the trailer. And people were like, why would that? We didn't even know anyone had been shot. That doesn't even make any sense.
No.
So he,
Also, you know, when you're desperately trying to get your family out of a burning trailer and your first thought is to go to your car and hide a gun?
yeah. That's what, when I'm worried about the safety of my loved ones, I'm always like, what evidence should I be hiding?
Yeah.
Um, So at this point, he's arrested and charged, which is very shocking to his parents at the time. Unfortunately, on December 19th, Julie suddenly dies in what Robert Stack calls a freak medical accident. Unfortunately, there was an air bubble in her blood tube that went to her heart. Ugh.
Yeah. So this episode just kicks you while you're down, basically.
Well, because if you recall, I had said that this was a double homicide and we had only had one dead victim. Yeah, well, Julie passes away too. And obviously, this is horrible for her family, but Robert Stack wants to point out it's also horrible for the case. And you're like, who the fuck cares? Well, now her eyewitness statement can't be used in court that she saw Johnny's face in the shotgun blast. By April of 1988, the trial begins, and they were seeking the death penalty for this case. Despite all the evidence against Donnie, the defense argued that the defense's argument rested on the witness statement of two neighbors. So these two neighbors lived across the street from the Hansons or nearby, and when they saw that the house was burning down, obviously they looked to see what was going on, and they supposedly saw two men leaving the home while it was on fire. So the entire defense story rests on this idea that two men are seen leaving the trailer. It makes absolutely no sense. This is what the defense presented. So two intruders approached the trailer at 3 a.m. One of them found Johnny's shotgun outside in his unlocked car. They decided to bring the shotgun with them. They also found 2 cans of gasoline because these intruders had brought literally nothing with them to commit crimes.
It's convenient that Donnie just provided them the murder weapon and the gasoline. That's very, very convenient for the intruders. It just happened to be there.
They then picked the lock and went inside the home. They very quietly, without waking anyone up, spread gasoline around. Julie, at some point, was awakened and walked in on one of the perpetrators standing on the couch above Donnie, who was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots he shoots Julie, waking up Donnie. And that's why she would have seen his face, which I feel like is a very good explanation for that, except I thought that couldn't even be presented in court. So I don't know why they had to like come up with a reason for that. But anyway, at that point, Donnie rushes to her aid, pulling her out of the house, leaving her on the porch, where she eventually crawled to the ditch herself.
Uh-huh.
Why does the intruder not shoot Donnie?
It's a good question that is also asked in the episode.
Unknown. Why does Donnie just leave his sister on the porch of a house that's burning that has 2 intruders inside? Also unknown. Okay. This theory also requires that not only does this man shoot Julie but not Donnie for some reason, but that the other intruder, or possibly that intruder, waits until everyone is out of the house to shoot Jill, which is why no one heard that shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then while sneaking out of the house while everyone's running around trying to put out the fire, they put the gun back in the car so that Donnie can hide it in the warehouse.
Uh-huh. And this doesn't explain why Donnie felt the need to hide the gun.
No. I guess
This
it
makes
might
no fucking sense.
I guess it
This
m
did not happen. Did not go down this way. I'm sorry. It just did not.
I guess it technically explains all of the evidence, but it also
Aliens came
defies
down and shot these two girls and then just beamed themselves away. That also technically explains the evidence. That doesn't mean it happened that way.
It
You
doesn't
can
defy
explain it all kinds of ways. It doesn't mean it's plausible.
what if an experimental octopus escaped from a nearby lab with one thing in mind, the need to kill.
That tire from that weird movie Rubber just rolls on through. Technically explains it.
Yeah, that would be hard to prove in court, right? Okay. Yeah, it is weird that these intruders came to the house without any gasoline if they wanted to burn it down. Why they wanted to burn it down is also unknown. Unlike that kidnapping guy, these people did not have 2,000 enemies. These were like friendly people that ran a logging supply store. It seemed like everyone liked them.
Yeah, the girls had no enemies. They literally seemed like the most popular girls in school. Like, I don't understand. Why
They
would
were
anyone do this?
they were known for like including new people that moved into the area. Like they they're 16-year-old girls. They seem extremely harmless. Um but however, Donnie is found not guilty.
Okay. I I cannot fathom that a jury was presented with the evidence that he borrowed the gun 3 days before, bought the ammunition the day of, and then bought exactly 2 cans of gasoline. I cannot fathom that a jury was presented this evidence and still I don't understand. The only thing I can think of is that, do you think that in seeking the death penalty that is what hurt their case?
I mean, you have to wonder. I mean, I'm against the death penalty. I wouldn't want him to be put to death for this. I do think that he's guilty.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. Is like, do you think that
that might have been an overreach or however you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this phenomenon, like, I've heard it described in other like true crime things where like a jury can have this moral objection to the sentence and can, even if they believe that the perpetrator is guilty, they may still find them not guilty. I forget, there's a name for that phenomenon. I forget what it's called. But
That's
that was
interesting.
what I wondered here, because I can't imagine anyone, like, who else would have done this? Who else?
Well,
Also, they interview him for the show and he has absolutely no explanation. He's like, why did I hide the shotgun? That's a good question. I guess I just didn't want anyone to think that I killed them. But
it's like, but we didn't even know. Makes no sense. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an interesting point. The way Unsolved Mystery presents it is basically the defense came up with enough reasonable doubt that the jury was like, well, we don't know for sure. And maybe they were more inclined to have reasonable doubt because they didn't want to put someone to death. If there was even the slimmest possibility that a monkey found the shotgun and killed the twins and burned down the trailer, they didn't, even if there was just even the wildest, most outlandish theory. Okay, before
it's
you
hard to
laugh
say
too
what
hard,
you would do. It's hard to say what you would do. I wouldn't want to be on this jury having to decide if
No.
someone would go
absolutely not.
to be put to death. I don't want to be in that position, so it's hard to say. But
People really think an owl was involved in that staircase murder. So maybe, who's to say an owl didn't burn this place down and borrow Donnie's shotgun? Who's to say?
those owls are shifty.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, Betty and Hans both believe it was Donnie. That at first, Betty says she was relieved when her son was found not guilty, and she took that to mean that her son was innocent. However, the more she thought about it, the more she realized that it was the only answer that made sense. particularly because of that thing Samantha mentioned that we don't hear anything more about. She sees him yelling to someone. So
Right.
what the parents think is that he did it, but he didn't do it alone. So some of the things that might have been hard to explain how he was the killer would be easy to explain if there was someone to help him.
Yeah.
We just don't know who that is. I was kind of like, but why, Donnie? But Hans, the father, says he actually thinks Donnie intended to kill the whole family and that he wanted the insurance money.
Oh, okay. So that was my big question too, was why the fuck? But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess getting the insurance money might explain it.
I mean, we hear from Donnie. He's in silhouette. They disguise his voice. Apparently, he's changed his name because of all the scrutiny from the trial. And he tells us that he loves his sisters and he has no idea who did it and that he had everything to lose and nothing to gain. And I was sort of like, yeah, what did you have to gain? But if even your dad is like, I think he just wanted money, which how much insurance money could these people possibly have had?
I
These are
don't
just regular people.
yeah. I and also like
Ugh,
why not burn down the I mean, I guess if their shop burns down, the parents are getting the money.
right.
I don't know. God damn.
How much money did you need, 21-year-old Donnie? Um, yeah, I don't know. There's no update. The case is not still being investigated. I don't know if it's officially closed, but basically everyone thinks it's Donnie, including his own parents. So they're not really looking into anyone else.
Yeah.
But you know, he was not found guilty in court. So that's where that ends. It is a case that has some twists. So it's an intriguing watch. It's long, but it's not unearned.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is heartbreaking and it's pretty much just rip out your heart and stomp on it. Like
Yeah, it's brutal.
horrible, horrible. But this is one of those cases where I was almost like, I want like a better production value, like long. Like, could this case be featured in an Unsolved Mysteries reboot? Like, I want. There's enough twists
Yeah.
and turns that would that make this one case would make for a really good, like longer format, Netflix doc or whatever.
I'm sure there's more evidence if you looked into it deeper that either could, you know, give you a little bit of doubt or
Yeah.
perhaps
Yeah, I want more
more.
background on Donnie. Like he didn't live there all the time. He was just visiting. Like what was he doing? Like there's
Yeah.
got to be more here.
Also, I didn't write this down because it didn't seem relevant to me, but they're actually half siblings. And so I almost wonder if there's some sort of animosity
Sure, I
i-
want to
in
explore
in
that.
the marriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there could
Like it
be. What was their relationship like? The family? Like I
right.
want to know all that information. Like I want this could really be more. I could use more on this one.
Yeah. It's an interesting case. It's just very sad.
Yeah, super sad.
Poor Jill and Julie deserved better.
Yeah, they really did. Well, speaking of sad, a little
This one
more.
made me cry.
This one
So,
is
here we
real
go.
sad. So this is a lost love. We are looking for the birth father of German-born Christoph Bauer. So Christoph Bauer is looking for his father, Michael Seymour, who is from Canada. In the summer of 1955, Maria Hoffman, a 20-year-old exchange student from Germany, found work at the Hotel Moraine near Chicago, Illinois. She had spent the past year studying in the United States. She needed money for her return trip to Germany, which is why she took this job. One day, she ran into Michael, who was also in his early 20s. They began a summer romance.
I mean, this dude was pretty handsome.
He was extremely handsome. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. That hair?
And
Man.
the reenactor they get to play him actually looks a lot like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, this was like a destined to be a summer romance. Like, how could she resist?
Of course, definitely. And it was. They had this whirlwind summer romance where they fell in love. And she kept this romance a secret for nearly 30 years until the spring of 1983. So after this summer, she returned to Germany, married. She became a mother and then a grandmother. Her eldest son, Christoph, who was in the Air Force, was visiting, and she made a stunning confession that the man who raised him was not his real father. This, of course, shocked him. Um,
Do you know how old he was at this time that he learned this?
I don't, but he had 3 kids at this point.
Oh, so he's like grown.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
definitely a grown man. So of course at this point in his life to find this
He's like,
out is completely
what? Why
shocking.
did you tell me? Yeah.
Yeah. And he wants to know about his father. He says, I believe in the reenactment, he says, I feel like I deserve to know. So she explained that during the summer of 1955, she and Michael had fallen in love. However, the affair became serious when she discovered that she was pregnant. She
Mm,
was afraid because she was in a foreign country. She had very little money. Also, she knew that Michael did not make much income either. In October of 1955, she made the difficult decision to return to Germany with her baby. Her family was there. She knew that she would have their support. It was just going to be a better, more stable place to raise her child. It was, she was already planning to return to Germany anyway. I think she was
yeah.
saving for it. So it was a hard choice because she loved Michael, but she knew that she had to go.
But she also has only known him a few months.
Yeah.
Like, she loves him, but is she gonna completely like derail her whole life just for him?
Right.
Just
And
for
it was
like,
going to be a really hard life,
yeah.
to support a baby on their meager income. She knows that she would have more support in Germany and she would have her family there. So, yeah, I mean, it probably was the right decision, but it was definitely hard and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So they planned to get together after Christoph was born. However, she never saw him again. Christoph was born in Germany on May 22nd, 1956. Shortly after, Maria married a college professor who would become Christoph's stepfather and who he believed was his real father. Fast forward to adult Christoph finding out that he has a different birth father out there somewhere. She gave Christoph 4 letters from his father. The last was written in 1958, and they included 2 photographs of Michael.
This is what made me cry. These letters are so sweet.
They're extremely sweet. He seems like a really nice man, and he really, really did love her. So he wrote to the return addresses on the envelope. Christoph wrote to the return addresses on the envelope, but received no response. I didn't write down what he said in his letters, but they were really sweet. He talked about how Christoph was the cutest baby he'd ever seen, and how I think he
He
said something along the lines of how even if they don't like continue in a relationship, he is just happy to be connected to Maria for the
Yeah.
rest of her life through this baby. It was very romantic and yes, very sweet.
And he was like, I would really like to be involved in Kristoff's life somehow. Like, you're both so important to me. I don't know. We've seen a lot of dudes being fuck boys, causing all sorts of trouble on this show. And I'm gonna give this man credit for actually
Yeah.
being just a romantic sweetheart who
Yes.
seemed very, loyal and heartfelt and nice.
Yep. Yeah. And to his credit, he continued to try and stay not in touch necessarily, but he tried to stay like connected to Christoph in a way. So he government agencies in Canada and the United States had no records of Michael, and also the Hotel Moraine burned to the ground, so there wasn't any like information there.
Oh,
However,
Chicago.
Maria's cousin, who lived in Chicago, had received several phone calls from Michael over the years. And he would call and just check up and ask how Christoph was doing,
He
how
called
Maria
for
was
20
doing.
years.
Yeah.
He called for 20 years to see how he was doing. That's unbelievable to me.
It is
This kid,
unbelievable.
he never met. He had only seen like 2 pictures of.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
I know. So the call, yeah, like you said, the calls continued for at least 20 years. He often asked about Maria and Christoph. Unfortunately, in 1976, Maria's cousin moved, and that was the last time anyone had contact with Michael. Sadly,
Couldn't leave a forwarding number. Couldn't let him know. Jeez.
at this point, you've had this relationship with this person for 20 years where you get these phone calls and update him on his son. And yeah, you couldn't just be like, hey, I'm moving. Here's my new number.
Wow.
Like, goddamn.
Maybe it had been a while since his last call or something.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can lose touch, especially, but you can't just look these
Yeah.
people up on Facebook at that point. So if you lose their number or whatever, I mean, you're kind of SOL. So,
Just
sad.
the loyalty of calling for 20 years. Not even
Yeah.
the woman he loved, the woman he loves cousin. Just to be like, so how are they? Ah!
I know. I know. Sadly, in 1984, Maria passed away at the age of 49. Today, Christoph is a captain in the German Air Force. Since 1991, he has lived with his family in the United States. He at this point, when this aired, he had hoped to be reunited with his father. They were planning on moving back to Germany, and he was kind of hoping that he would be able to connect with him before they moved. Unfortunately, this is unsolved. Michael's family was located in Canada, but he's still not been found. Christoph was surprised to learn that the name Michael Seymour was actually an alias. His real name was Walter Joseph Anthony Seymour. He was born on October 30th, 1930, in Pembroke, Ontario. He lived in Evanston, Illinois until at least 1970. He also used the names Michael B. Samore and Walter
Hmm.
Stokwa. If he's still alive, he would now be 89.
Why do you think he needed so many names?
I don't know. See, this is very mysterious. Why was he going around giving aliases?
I mean, it explains why he's so nice. He's from Canada, so that part makes sense. But what is he up to?
Yeah, you gotta wonder. I wish I
Other
knew.
other than falling desperately in love with German women who work at hotels, what else is he up to?
I wish I knew. I like maybe he was a spy or something. I want there to be a romantic story, but
Whoa,
unfortunately we have no information. And it's got
Samantha?
to be so hard for Christoph to find out that his father never forgot about him for 20 years. And yet they were never able, at least as far as I know, never able to connect.
I mean, I hope. I don't know exactly what he was looking for in his search, but maybe there's some satisfaction in knowing that his father was a nice dude. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I think he does describe in the episode that he felt like his father really cared about him. You know, he didn't abandon him and forget about him. So there probably is some satisfaction there, but it's just really unfortunate that yeah, they never got to know each other.
Yeah, I know.
What a bummer.
All right. So that is actually the end of that bummer of an episode.
Yeah, we should probably rate it.
It's time to rate things. Let's go. So, what's first?
Mysteriousness.
Actually, kind of mysterious because I want to know why this guy had multiple names. I want to know, did that guy fake his own kidnapping or not? I'm
I
actually
do.
kind of leaning towards he faked it. And he just like hired someone to pretend to kidnap him from that parking lot, and that's why things were so zany.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I- okay, I might personally think that Donnie did it, but who helped him? And what was his goal? Was it just for money?
There's
Such
still
a
a lot of questions. That's a mysterious case.
I think thumbs way up.
Yeah, this was a very mysterious episode. Reenactments?
Fine. The Fumbles 2.0 was pretty funny reenactments.
They were pretty funny.
I actually feel like the ones from My Mystery were pretty well done. Not like spectacular, I guess, but adequate. Sideways, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm whatever about them. I think they were fine.
Okay,
So I'm
sideways.
okay with sideways. Fashion.
Do you like Inspector Gadget outfits? Do you like handsome Canadians working at hotels? Is that fashion? I don't. Yeah, again, unremarkable. I feel like
Yeah. I don't
nothing
know.
stands out for me.
It's
Thumbs
fine.
down.
Thumbs down. And Robert Stack?
I think for the fat phobia, thumbs down.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm
The
not
only
really
thing,
digging it, Stack.
the things I remember about him in this episode, I'm not liking. So,
Yeah.
bump, 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 bump.
Not a big fan.
Thumbs down. Okay, how are we gonna rate this one? So it's a scale of 1 to 5 Robert Stacks. Obviously, more Robert Stacks equals better. So 5 is the best possible, but this is not a 5.
It's not a 5, but I will say, especially your mystery did really suck me in. As sad as it is, it's extremely sad. I think the mystery itself is actually this is the first time in a while where I've been
Yeah,
like engrossed in the twists and turns of the mystery, which is my favorite part about mysteries, obviously, the mysterious part of them. So I do think that was good. I don't know though.
is this a 4? Is this a 3.5?
A 4 feels too high to me.
I agree. I feel
Is
like
my gut reaction.
it's a 3 wearing a rain hat. It's a 3 and a little bit.
I agree. It's a 3 and a smidge.
Yeah.
A little smidge more than a
It's
3.
better than a 3, but it's not a 4.
It's no, and I don't even sure it's a 3.5.
I
But
was I was
uh,
thinking the other day, maybe you have this phenomenon too, but when I rate books on Goodreads, the gap between a 3 and a 4 is huge. Like, it's disproportionately big, I feel like. Like, 5, saving obviously for, like, best book I've ever read,
right,
right?
right.
So that's like, oh, this book's perfection. So 4 is still, like, pretty darn good. But when
Similarly, the gap between 3 and 2 I feel like is the same but in the opposite direction. Do you feel like
I feel like there's a bigger gap in between a 3 a 4 is like, "Oh, this is actually really pretty good," and a 3 is kinda like, "Eh."
that's true.
Like,
And I end up giving a
"Meh."
lot of 3s. And because Goodreads won't fucking give us half
I know,
half
it's hard.
ratings, it's really hard because I feel if I'm gonna give something a 3.5, I need to round up and give it a 4. But that
Exactly.
4 is like, but it's
And
not
then
a
you're like,
4.
"This is not a 4 book. Do
Right.
I take
Yeah,
this way too seriously?"
I have that
Yes.
same problem.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think about it long and hard. Do I take things I should take seriously, not seriously at all? Yes, I have issues. But I do put a lot of thought into how I rate books on Goodreads. Basically, the whole time I'm reading them. Oh, is this going to be a 4? I was just thinking, like, a 3. Sometimes a 3 is just like, whatever. This was fine.
Yeah. I feel that way about this episode a little.
But it's better than fine,
I'm
though.
giving it like a
Eh,
3.25.
eh. It would be nice on Goodreads, and perhaps we could have done this on our show to give things a like letter rating, so you could be like, "This is really
Okay.
a C plus," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I would say this episode was a B minus,
I totally agree.
but
Well,
we
it's
didn't
too
do
late
it.
to
That's
change that now.
that's not how we did it. So sucks to be us, I guess. Okay, it's now recommendation time. How we close off the show.
Yeah, and I got a quick think of one, so you better go. Good thing you go first.
Well, I was gonna say that I don't really have one. I thought about it this morning and decided that in honor of it being Valentine's Day, that I was just going to remind you to treat yourself well
Hmm.
and perhaps be inspired by a reclusive corset maker that we've previously talked about on the show.
Yes.
It's a pandemic. It's February. Cut yourself some slack. Be extra nice to yourself. If your friend was going through a hard time, hopefully you wouldn't just be like, well, other people have it worse. Hope, right? Which is what
Right.
you might say to yourself. But hopefully you would say to your friend, you would do something nice for them. You would try to cheer them up. That's what you should do to yourself. You shouldn't just be like, well, it could be worse. No, treat yourself nice. Have chocolate for breakfast. What I've been doing is spraying perfume in my bed before I go to sleep. Amazing.
Oh, luxurious. That is what the corset maker would want you to do.
Yes, that's what you just need, like a little luxury to make this time a little bit less unpleasant. So maybe check out some poetry from the library. And if you hate it, oh well, you can just give it back. It'll be fine. Um don't save things for special occasions, like you do them now. And an example of that is my family used to do this picnic we would call it the Von Snoot family picnic. This is a great suggestion for when it gets
Oh.
warmer out. We would get dressed up, we would wrap up the china, pack up a picnic lunch, go to the park, set out like a tablecloth and candles and shit, and eat our picnic off china and pretend we were rich.
This is amazing.
And to be like, oh, could you pass the olives? The Van Snoot family picnic. It's really fun, actually.
When
So
post-pandemic, we need to have a Van Snoot family picnic.
absolutely.
I wanna do this.
But don't be like people in like my grandparents' generation that were always like saving stuff for some special occasion that was never gonna come. Like we can't use this nice dish. Why is the queen coming someday? No, just use it now. Do you do all that stuff now? Treat yourself well during the pandemic. Spray some perfume in the bed. Yeah. Have hot chocolate, I don't know. Just a little extra luxury. That's what we all need right now.
That's a really great recommendation.
It's kind of not a recommendation at all,
Add some
but
luxury to your life.
yeah, I mean,
Never
it's
mind on Valentine's Day. You can be
I'm
your own Valentine.
exactly. Yeah, just give yourself what you want. It's okay. Now this is just turning into a self-help motivational show. I'm fine with it.
That's cool. Okay, I think I did think of something to recommend because
Awesome.
you reminded me that I've been buying a lot of shit for myself lately. and
And you deserve it, Samantha.
it's something I bought. I was influenced by an Instagram ad. It happens from time to time. And I
We all
bought
have our
this
weaknesses.
coffee mug that I want to recommend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway, I have this problem where, and it's a very ridiculous problem, I acknowledge, but I have to drink my coffee like piping hot. I don't like it if it like gets a little lukewarm, even just a little bit. I really like it to be
Okay.
hot. So what I did a couple years ago is I bought one of those Yeti
Oh,
tumbler
sure.
mugs with
Mhm.
the handle, like the low ball.
Mhm.
And I've been using it for a long time and it works fine, except this is such a ridiculous complaint, but it's really heavy and it's like not a good shape. It's like weirdly wide and low and it's kind of uncomfortable to use. So on but
It's kind
whatever. I
of
keep
made for, like, giant lumberjack hands.
it kind of is. Or
I'm, like, picturing your, like, little petite hands holding this, like, massive, like, soup bowl mug, like,
it kind of
ugh.
is like a soup bowl mug. And I use it because it does keep my drinks extremely hot. I'm not even sure they make this one anymore because I've tried to look it up to compare the price to what I'm going to recommend to you. And I couldn't find the one that I have. They have like a different version that's a little bit smaller. Maybe that one would be better. I don't know. But the one I have is just like not that practical, but it does keep my coffee extremely hot for a really long time. So like especially if you're working, you probably have this. I'm sure people listening have the same problem where you're working and you get into like an email or whatever and you forget your coffee sitting there and then it's like cold.
Sure,
So
sure.
that solved my problem. However, Instagram fed me this ad a couple weeks
It
ago.
knew. It knows all your weaknesses.
Yes, it honestly it does. The algorithm has me figured out. So it I was served this ad on Instagram for this Tumblr company that it's the brand vibe from this Tumblr company is like not my thing. It's a little girl boss for my taste. But I was immediately it served me an ad for this like travel mug that was leopard print, so it has my number. I looked it up. It's called Swig Life, which kind of gives you an idea of the
Uh-huh. Uh-huh, sure.
ridiculous, ridiculous.
Oh,
However,
oh, Samantha, just living the swig life.
I know it's really silly. However, I received the mug in the mail last week. I've been using it for a week, and I actually really like it to the point where I'm probably going to buy some as gifts because there's a few things about it that make it perfect. So they have different designs. They have like the wine mug, which is like, of course, they do the little wine tumbler. They have the bigger
Uh-huh.
tumbler, and then the one I got was like the middle size that has a handle. And things I like about it are does keep my drink hot just to the same degree that the Yeti does. It's a little bit lighter weight. It's still heavy because it's like the double walled thing. Like I don't think you can get away from that. So it is still heavy, but it's lighter than the Yeti, so I like that. It's tapered at the bottom so it fits in the cup holder, which was another complaint
Mhm.
that I had about my
Mhm.
Yeti. Back when I
Sure.
used to commute, I couldn't really put it. I had to like put it on the seat next to me. It'd always follow, Um, and it does keep my drink really, really hot. And also, unlike the Yeti, it has a closable top, so it doesn't always stay open. So you can actually like pop it
Ah.
closed. It has like a little rubber grippy part on the bottom too, so it's not gonna like I'm super clumsy and I knock things over all the time. So all of these features make it like actually a pretty appealing mug to me. And they have a ton of really pretty prints. Like I'm scrolling through. Unfortunately, the mug I got in the size I got with the leopard print is sold out, but it does say that it's gonna be back in stock February 19th, I guess. But there's also like a rainbow leopard print. There's a marble one, a tie dye. There's some really pretty floral prints. They're kind of expensive, but with how much I use mine, I think it's worth it. And I kind of wish like I could trade in my two Yetis for just a couple more of these because I'm definitely going to use this way more than that one now. So I do recommend this if you're in the same boat. There for a while, I was seeing that coffee mug that you like connect to your smartphone and it'll like keep your
Oh,
drink
yeah.
warm,
Yeah. Mhm.
which I could absolutely never justify that because they're so expensive. And I feel like it's one of those things where you would get it and it like wouldn't fucking work. But
Yeah.
I
Oh,
always saw that and
absolutely.
was like, if I was rich,
When I get that Bling Empire money, man, oh
yeah, I'm
man.
gonna get this smartphone enabled fucking coffee mug. No,
First
this one,
purchase.
yeah. Oh yeah. The
All
first
right.
purchase would be a capybara. The second purchase would be a smartphone enabled coffee mug. Swig life. I can't even believe I'm recommending this. I almost wasn't going to because it sounds so silly. But this is like, yeah,
You've overcome their branding to believe in their
the
product.
product is actually really good. It works really nice. I like the mug. It's cute.
Are you gonna throw away all your just regular ceramic mugs now? You're like, I don't need this.
I
Goodbye.
like a okay, back when we could shop at Marshalls and Home Goods, I could barely leave that store without a cute mug. Definitely not. Keeping those forever. Love having those around.
Okay, good.
But I don't
I
ever
mean,
use them. That's not true. If I drink tea or hot chocolate, I'll reach for one of those because I'll usually drink it pretty fast. Like, but when I'm working, I forget to. I want to like sip it over a long period of time, so I want it to stay hot.
I'm actually drinking out of a Perhaps It's You mug right now,
Nice.
which you can get from our Teespring store. It will not keep anything hot, but it does come in 2 different shades of pink. So you got to think about what's more important.
You gotta have priorities.
Yeah, so head over to perhapsitsyou.com to see our merch options.
Get you one of those.
Not brought to you by Swig Life. Yeah. I also feel like I should mention that people can still get our zine, our fabulous
Ooh,
zine, for
that
$15.
seems amazing. You
Shipped
want
in the
one?
USA. Don't you want a recipe for mac and cheesies and all sorts of fan art and good stuff? Don't you want a pull-out poster of me and Samantha looking at Matthew McConaughey holding a capybara? Yeah, you do.
If you didn't know you wanted that, you do now.
Yeah, that's in our zine. All right. This is the end of the show now. Where only till you go to our website, perhapsitsyou.com. Yeah, there's social media. You can see me make many memes about the deadly power of my beautiful voice. We have a couple of Facebook groups. One about Animal Crossing, one about reading books,
Yep.
one about this show, apparently. If you wanted to email us a paranormal tale or perhaps a psychic dream, that would be perhapsitsyouPodcast@gmail.com.
Send those our way. If you've got a few extra dollars burning a hole in your pocket, you can get some bonus content by subscribing to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/perhapsitsyou. We should probably record February's episode. I think we're going to do Paranormal Home Inspector.
Paranormal home inspectors.
Very excited about that.
Maybe part of treating yourself well is signing up for a new Patreon.
Yeah.
That sounds like the real luxurious life.
You'll get over 30 episodes, and that's only $1 a month, so it's a great deal. But there's higher tiers though. If you want to get some cool shit, you can give us a little more money, and you'll get some cool shit, like a coloring sheet every month.
Is your life depressingly sticker free? Well, cough up $5. We can fix that problem for you. Oh no, where are the stickers? My brother was once, like, in a very serious voice, told the family that his body was dangerously low in bubble tea. And then we were just like, all right, we'll go.
We gotta solve that problem.
We gotta solve this problem. Dangerously low. If you're dangerously low in stickers,
I am also dangerously low in bubble tea.
I am too. My body is depleted. Do we have anything else we need to say?
I don't know. Did we mention our social media? Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
That's all we gotta talk about.
So, keep barking, everyone, and my voice and Samantha's voice will be back to kill you next week.
Bye.
Yes, bye.